Hello everyone! The Dastardly Duos World event has finally come around. The world's meanest villains are teamed up and back for revenge. Meet in Stormwind, Orgrimmar or Donegal to fight against villainous bosses from Azrael's past. Animatronics, representing enemies that we faced before, now willing to fight us within the Demolition Dome. You can go in alone, or accept the help of the NPCs, or team up with your friends for a maximum of 5 players. Aim of the game is to take out all that they throw at you and aim for a high score. A score that you can show off outside on the podium. This podium is also a toy that you can earn, but not right away. Similar to some of the bosses not being available at the start, a big part of the event is time-gated, as that's what they love to do for the Nightfall patch. Week 2 is gonna have the podium toy, which you can upgrade to show off different stats. Week 3 will have a mean ball bag pet, and week 4 has a Tyrannosaurus treat mount, which is a turtle.
A merciless defeat at the hands of our noble heroes! Listen to that crowd!
So to the lore, what bosses did the goblins decide to turn into animatronics? Well, let's jump right into going back to classic, to the depth mines, where so-called heroes of Azeroth went in and they took care of the Defiance Brotherhood and the leader Edwin Van Cleef. But the story wasn't so simple. Edwin didn't wake up one day and decided to become a bad guy. He led riots through Stormwind streets, thanks to Onyxia's manipulations and the Stormwind nobles, refusing to pay the Stonemasons Guild what they were owed. Queen Tiffin, Anduin's mother, was killed during these riots, which of course put a big old target on Van Cleef's head, not to mention all the robberies and the crimes that followed after.
Fools! Our cause is righteous.
In turn, the Defiance Brotherhood wanted vengeance, feeling like their cause was righteous, one that was quickly snuffed out when we returned with Van Cleef's head as proof of demise. His execution, and I'm going to assume his decapitation, it was all witnessed by his daughter Vanessa, who'd grow up and breathe life back into the Brotherhood. Once more, heroes were asked to go into the depth mines, where they ran into Glubtok. His destructive magical abilities had already earned him a reputation, as he's reduced his ogre mount to ash. He was running a 2-bit extortion operation out of a cave when Vanessa Van Cleef found him. Such a waste of his talents, much better put to use as a Defiance laborer supervisor, the head foreman within the depth mines.
Too much power!
And moving further in, we then run into the Foe Reaper 5000.
Foe Reaper 5000 online. All systems nominal.
Defiance engineers have spent many long days perfecting a brand new harvester model, which they based on the Foe Reaper 4000, which is a unit, a rare spawn that roams the farms of Westfall. Once it's completed, the Brotherhood believes this mechanized header will be able to slice through Stormwind's armored soldiers like a scythe through wheat. That is, until we showed up and we put a stop to their plans. Staying in the more classic zones, we head on over to Shadowfang Keep, looming over Pyrewood Village from the southern bluffs of Silverpine Forest. Shadowfang Keep cast a shadow as dark as its legacy. When Gilneas had to deal with the rampant scourge, Archmage Arrogal was given permission to do his spell work, summoning the Worgen from the Emerald Dream. That did do what they were supposed to do. The scourge stood little chance against their ferocious might. But then, they also turned on any humans they could find. The Worgen curse would spread amongst the Gilneans, while Arrogal went mad with guilt. He now saw the Worgen as his children. And so, when they breached the defenses of Baron Silverlaine's keep and took over the place, Arrogal joined them, renaming it into the Shadowfang Keep.
Who dares interfere with the sons of Arrogal?
It is said that the ghost of Silverlaine still haunts the place, his cursed spirits calling upon the very wolf beast that took his life. Wolf beasts like Odo the Blind Watcher, Razorclaw the Butcher, Rattlegore, or Wolf Master Nandos. Heroes would go into the keep and kick the crap out of Arrogal, only for then Lord Godfrey to take up residence with the Cataclysm.
To which I must ask, Is there even a shred of humanity left within you?
Godfrey is the guy that haunts you when you make a new Worgen character. The curse had become so prominent that even their king, Gen Greymane, got infected, something that Godfrey couldn't deal with. He would rather die than acknowledging a filthy Worgen as his lord. That wouldn't be the end of him though, as his body was reclaimed by the Forsaken, brought back in on death. He then turned on Sylvanas herself and forced her to use some of the Valkyr to bring her back from the maw, as apparently a shotgun is more than enough to take care of the Banshee Queen. After doing so, Shadowfang Keep would be their home, not just for Lord Vincent Godfrey, but also his right-hand man, Lord Walden, and it's Walden that got himself an animatronic. From Classic and a Cataclysm revamp, we move on over into the Burning Crusade. Watchkeeper Gargolmar was found at the Hellfire Ramparts, which is part of the Hellfire Citadel. This structure is a reflection to the massive changes that happened amongst the orcs of Draenor. Before the arrival of Kil'jaeden, the corruption of the Burning Legion, the drinking of demonic bloods, the orcs, they were living in separate clans, coming together during Kush Ark festivals, honoring their ancestors, honoring the elements, enjoying the lands, but times would change when they were mobilized. Led to believe that the Draenei were their enemy, and that they had to come together under the banner of the Horde, with Black Hand as their war chief. Meanwhile, in the shadows, in the background, manipulations happened from Ner'zhul, Gul'dan, Kil'jaeden, a whole bunch that hungered for more power and vengeance, rather than what was best for the orcs. But most of the orcs did not know this, and so Draenor and their people were corrupted. With the deed done, the Draenei seemingly wiped out. Kil'jaeden left the orcs to their fates. Who knows what would have happened to them if Sargeras didn't want to use them for another plan, have the Horde invade Azeroth and weaken it for a Legion invasion. The Dark Portal was set up, and even to this day, you can still witness the path of glory, leading from the portal all the way to the Citadel. Focus in on the road that you walk on, and you realize that you're walking on the bones of the slain Draenei men, women, and children. The Horde would get its ass kicked a couple of times. The Dark Portal shut down. Draenor transformed in Outlands. Illidan Stormrage set up base, claiming the title Lord of Outlands, while getting his hands on the Pit Lord Macfarraden. Instead of outright slaying the demon, he used its blood to empower his new orcish allies, the so-called Fel Horde, led by Kargaf Bladefist, chieftain of the Shattered Hand clan. You might recall seeing Kargaf in Wars of Draenor, sacrificing one of his hands for freedom, which was pretty badass, right? But what if you would sacrifice both? You can't really go to the toilet anymore, but now both hands are your weapons, which Gargolmar puts to good use. Charged by Kargaf Bladefist himself to defend the ramparts, reviled amongst the denizens of Outlands, Gargolmar is known to eat the heart of those that he catches near the Citadel, whether they were trying to enter or not. The Blood Furnace is a different wing of the Citadel. As you can imagine, keeping Macfarraden locked up, that took quite a bit of manpower. Not to mention processing the blood and infusing it within their forces. Here we find Broggok, a massive observer demon. Some creatures occasionally have second thoughts about their allegiance to their new corrupted masters. Broggok ensures that any subversive notions amongst the Fel Orcs are permanently eradicated.
Water is life. It has become a rare commodity here in Outland, a commodity that we alone shall control.
Let us move on from the dry Hellfire Peninsula to the more moist Zangarmarsh and the Coilfang Reservoir. Once upon a time, there was speculation going on about the purpose of the Naga in the marsh. Way back when, Illidan had filled a couple of vials with water from the original Well of Eternity, which he then used to make a new well, and other vials were then used to make a sun well. But there were more vials out there, more vials remained, and their location or purpose, they were unknown for a while. And people started to wonder, back then, if Illidan and his forces, if they were trying to make a brand new well. Combine gathering all of the water in the Zangarmarsh under guidance of Lady Vush, empowered it with magics from Netherstorm, led by Kilfa Sunstrider, finish it all off with those vials supplied by Illidan Stormrage. That speculation never went anywhere. The Naga simply wanted to control the water, as the people of Outland, they needed water to survive. But I'll always remember that as some of my favorite speculation. Anyways, from the Steam Vault, 2 bosses have been pulled. The mechanical heart of the Naga's draining operations. We have Hydromancer Thespia, who was delighted in arts and music when she was still a highborn night elf. But with the collapse of their empire, as the War of the Ancients came to a close and their queen Azara's plans were stopped, they were dragged underneath the waves of Azeroth, where the old god N'Zoth offered them a deal, turning them into the hateful Naga. And the love for all of these things vanished. Thespia remained a close confidant of her childhood friend Lady Vash, who was Illidan's great ally, and without hesitation, she journeyed with her comrades to the Zanga Marsh, and vowed to oversee the Naga's quests to drain the region's water supply.
Our matron will be the end of you!
After that came the Mekgineer, who looks a whole lot like Sicko Thermoplug, the M-boss of Gnomeregan. The gnomes war against the Trogs, and Sicko tried to manipulate and maneuver from behind the scenes. It led to the once great city being filled up with radioactive gas clouds, transforming the gnomes caught into leper gnomes. At least, the ones that were able to survive. Although the Mekgineer escaped and retained his intellects, whatever ethics and compassion he once possessed, they were gone, wandering Azeroth, selling his knowledge to a number of unscrupulous groups such as the Bloodsail Buccaneers. More recently though, he's been hired by the Naga to operate the intricate machinery in Zangamarsh's Steam Vault. Mommy. Then the final 2, which I guess are connected in necromancy. We have Rattlegore from Scholomance. Thought to have been destroyed in Enderhall, Dark Master Gendling immediately began preparations to reanimate the clattering terror so he could guard against intruders. The Dark Master sought to make Rattlegore more ferocious than ever, imbuing him with an insatiable desire to harvest raw materials from his enemies. We fought him in Scholomance, the school of necromancy, a dark, horrific place in which Kel'Thuzad pushed on with his plans of forming the cult of the damned. There is an amazing animated video on this subject, if you're curious. It's one of my favorite videos that we've done on the channel. And Rattlegore, he put up quite a fight. Now Kel'Thuzad, the Scourge, a plague that watched over the lands of Lordaeron, a young Prince Arthas that saw his kingdom fall to darkness, and he had to make some insane choices. At Strefholm, the Dreadlord Mal'Ganis went household by household, turning his people into undead slaves. It would be better to die by his hands, the prince thought. But even so, the light flickered, and doubt filled his mind and heart. Then there was the infinite Dragonflight, the corrupted counterpart to the Bronze Dragonflight, the Guardians of Time. The Infinites want to corrupt it. Although recent events in Dragonflight have seriously muddied the storyline, where once Nosdormu and his flight were charged with keeping the timeline pure or all was gonna fall apart, now they work together with the Infinites, and sometimes change is acceptable. It's definitely a thing, but more to the point right here, Chrono-Lord Epoch tried to stop Arthas from ever going to Northrend.
Damn you, Mal'Ganis! Father, Jaina, I have failed Lordaeron.
And the question is, why did we want to stop them from stopping Arthas? Like, isn't it great that he doesn't become the Lich King? As far as I know, the why has never fully been explained. I've always thought in the direction of, if Arthas didn't go to Northrend, then we would have been too late to stop the old god Yogg-Saron. But that's purely a headcanon, that's purely speculation. I don't think they've ever stated for sure. But then I checked out the Dastardly Lore video that Platinum WoW has done on the official WoW channel. There, they sit down with Sean Copeland, the official Warcraft historian, and this is what they had to say about it.
When I was doing it, I was like, why are we helping Arthas? Like, he's doing something awful. He's killing innocent people. Why does this have to happen? Well, it's actually a canon moment for the entirety of Warcraft. That needs to happen, so it was awful that we had to help him do the dastardly thing he was going to do, but the Infinite Dragonflight, they're always about trying to bring about a certain future to this main timeline of ours. So something that would help them do that would be to, I don't know, change an event that is so mega like that to bring about Mueh'zala. We have to help Arthas do his bad thing, but we also have to stop the Infinite Dragon from stopping him from doing his bad thing.
So once upon a time, we had the old gods tricking Nosdormu into becoming Mueh'zala, and that created the Infinite Dragonflights. The time travel is a bit much to go into right now, but it seems like the new reasoning from Dragonflight is being spread out across the board. As in, the Infinite Dragonflights, they've been working on turning Nosdormu into Mueh'zala, messing around with what they call canon events. So Stratholme, the way that it happened, apparently had to happen in order to break the timeline and shatter the time waves, birthing Mueh'zala and the Infinite Dragonflights. That does create a bit of a what came first situation, but then again, you know, wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey. That does, however, bring us to the last boss to cover, the last story attached to the Dastardly Duos. For those confused about the event, or for those that are not playing right now, as far as I can tell, this event is all about getting a high score. It's not so much like the Brawlers Guild, where you would overcome the challenges and the tactics of the bosses. It's more about where do you kill the trash waves in the arena. Do it in the right spot and you get a score multiplier. You can also eat food that will increase your score. Not dying helps out a lot. For me, it took around 5 to 10 minutes to see the entire event. And then for the rewards, as mentioned, a lot of it is time-gated right now, and a lot of it is simply about getting a high score for those that care about it. Similar with world events to be seen before, like at Halloween, you would go out to kill the Headless Horseman, or Noble Garden, collect some eggs and get some rewards, or fly around the world with the hot air balloons. It's a smaller event that comes around every so often, and you can dive in if you enjoy it. But it does bring us to the end of the video, so thank you very much for watching, everyone. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to subscribe, perhaps leave a like, and until next time, see ya!